Will We Talk?
Welcome everyone to the first ever edition of Will We Talk, a music podcast by me, Joe McGrath. Yes, we've got a couple of pilots in the background for you to go and watch on YouTube. I'll do the boring stuff first. If you fancy following us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, search Will We Talk Pod. We're on all of them. And make sure you subscribe to the Will We Talk YouTube channel. You can also listen to us on Spotify and Apple and all that jazz. And every single week we'll bring you a new episode filled with sort of panelists that come on to talk about the big music news, artists and legends. All of it will hopefully make Will We Talk one of your favourite new podcasts. And now I introduce our first official guest, a very good friend of mine, the man who taught me too much in a way, Clint. It's Mr. Clint Boon, everyone. This is where I had a little bit of applause in the background. Woo!
I like that. That's real applause, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not canned.
Happy 2024, Clint.
Yeah, got off to a great start. I'm enjoying it.
So I'm going to obviously look at what's going to be a big year for you, but just a slight reflection on how you ended 2023. I had the pleasure of being in the crowd for one of your final ever radio shows, which was a phenomenal experience. Talk to us about that day for you, and explain sort of what James Wilson and you and the XS lot sort of did.
Yeah. Well, it was the first week of July that I announced to XS that I was leaving on very good terms, very positive, but just, radio's dominated everything I've done for the last 28 years or something, pretty much. So I'm at a stage now where I'm working on all these other projects in the background that I need to give priority to. So I just decided to take the step of getting away from radio, which is what I've done. So the last show was the penultimate show, 21st of December at the Lions Den. I was told we were doing an outside broadcast. Well, I was asked. They asked, do you want to do a bit of a part? I said, you put it together, I'll just turn up. So I turned up knowing that we were doing a 3-hour live broadcast, but I didn't have a clue who was going to be there, what to expect. And it was all my family and friends. My mum was there as we arrived, and all my kids, and it was just like, it was brilliant. You know, it's like having the family there was amazing, but then, you know, my industry friends like yourself and people that I've worked with over the last 20 odd years. And then we had, you know, from the BBC, Mike Sweeney came and sat on my show talking, you know, on a commercial radio station. Mark Radcliffe from the BBC again. So it's just like, I was blown away. I didn't expect any of that. Andy Burnham came on right near the end as well. He just turned up from behind the curtain, literally. It was like, wow, you know, it's... So yeah, it was amazing, and it was... I think within the family over the last couple of weeks we've been joking. It was a bit like a funeral. It was like seeing your own funeral. You know what I mean? It was all that. So it was like it's my radio funeral. But no, it's a great send off. And I know that, you know, there's a good chance I'll be back on the radio at some point. But for now, it was like, okay, so I just need to clear that part of my diary completely, because there's the other stuff I'm working on, and hopefully it's going to be quite time-consuming and lucrative, including the Inspirals. You know, the Inspirals are going back out again this year, so class. We've got a lot going on.
Well, let's dive into these Inspirals, because it was sort of a real big year last year for you, and that was one of the things that was in the diary and that you would look to focus on. When was the first sort of initial phone calls of the band saying, let's go back on the road, and how was it? Because I've spoke to you throughout it, and you seem to have an absolute ball.
Yeah, well, the backstory before the announcement last year was, we'd not worked together for 6 years or 7 years since Craig died. Our drummer passed away in late 2016. So we'd just not had any discussions whatsoever about gigging again. We just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it without Craig. And, you know, that lasted for probably 6 years, you know, subsequent to his death. And it was July of 22. Yeah. Saturday morning, I got an email off Graham. He forwarded an email to myself and Stephen and Martin, bass player, saying we've been offered this tour with the Happy Mondays in spring. It would have been spring of 23. Who's up for it? And I was just like, I read it and I just thought, God, do you know, I was tingling.
Yeah, the excitement.
I thought, I went to Charlie right away, my wife, who sat over here, that's why she don't work here, she just sat there. But, and I just showed her the email and she's like, do it. And it was like, I was so excited. I got straight back on to, you know, replied to the email, I'm up for it. Steve was up for it. Graham was obviously up for it. He forwarded the email. Martin opted out. He said, basically, you know, I'm not up for touring, but go ahead and do it without me if you like. So it's all very amicable. You know, Martin's still, he's still our bass player, still in the band, but he's just not into touring yet. So we've got Oscar Boone on bass now, which is a bit of nice serendipity. But yeah, it's been, that year was one of the best years for me. I've enjoyed that year of the Inspirals probably as much or more than any other year that we've ever done. But I think because I thought we'd lost it. I thought it wasn't happening again. Yeah. So to go from that to we're back, and we're not just back doing little gigs, we're doing big gigs, sell-out gigs in the UK.
Hall in Manchester, it's an incredible venue. What other cities were you sort of, because obviously you knew how incredible, like your character in Manchester is so loved. Were there other cities you were surprised that you could rock up, still sell out, and still have such a reception?
I think there was a lot of the gigs sold out pretty quick, so I think by the time, that surprised me. It surprised me that the Albert Hall sold out in 4 hours or something. It was
that's unbelievable.
Which I didn't expect that whatsoever. On the morning, Charlie said, "Do you think it'll sell out really quick?" You know, the tickets, when the tickets went on sale, and I said, "No, it'll take a few days probably." It was like 3 hours or something. So yeah, I mean, and we got the great reactions in all the cities in the UK, but then to get out to Australia and New Zealand as well, and Spain and Ireland, and it was just like I never thought we'd get on a plane with that band ever again. I just thought that's done, you know. And there we go. So I think that's why I appreciated last year more than any other year I've done with the band, really.
You hinted at it. Your son is part of the band now.
Yeah.
I know Oscar well. I've seen him grow up, and I remember you first talking about him picking up musical instruments and finding what it was going to be, and it was the bass. And then that sort of conversations we've had about just how good he is.
Yeah.
So when were those first moments where you talked to him about, you know, picking up the bass for you?
It's an interesting story because we've always had a running gag in our family because me and Charlie have got 3 boys, Oscar, Hector, Cassius. We've always joked about, well, I've always joked, start a band, I'll manage it, 50%.
Yeah.
Which, you know, if you're in the music industry, you know that's a joke. It's 20% maximum if you man. So I've always joked, and they've always said, "Shut up, Dad, leave it, you know, stop going on about it." And so I think I'd stopped going on about it. And then a few years ago, when he was 11 or 12, 13, Oscar suddenly discovered the Rubik Cube.
Yeah, no, I remember that. He was rapid, wasn't he?
20 seconds, part of it, he blindfolded himself as well. And he was doing it, he was just mastering it. And I just said to him at some point, I said, with that dexterity and that mental
control as well,
the mental agility as well, to know the algorithms that are related, it's all patterns and that. I said, you could play any musical instrument you wanted. You know, I said, sorry to go back to this whole thing, but you could. And he, it felt like within days, he was listening to Revolver by the Beatles at the time. That was his favourite album.
Nice.
And he was listening to Gorillaz a lot as well. And he must have just picked up on the bass lines. He just came into the front room one day and said, I think I want to learn bass guitar. So I said, right, get in the car, straight down to Johnny Roadhouse.
Yeah.
We bought him an orange bass amp and a nice Fender Squire bass. Yeah. And he just got busy, and he's just played every day since then. He just, you know, you'll hear him in the middle of the night just playing away in his room. You know, we've never forced this on him. It's, you know, apart from driving him to Johnny Roadhouse and going on about it for the first 10 years of his life. It was like it was his decision that he wanted bass, and he mastered it. And he's an incredible musician. You know, everybody in the band knows that he's special.
Yeah. But back to some of the logistics of 2023 and touring and just interested in when you guys obviously got back together and conversations were had with new members of the band, how you pick apart or how you put together your set list for what you wanted to do when you were back on the road. What is that like when you see all your work in front of you and you know you've got only about an hour and a half, 2 hours to pick out your highlights?
It's probably a bit easier this time because we'd been away for so long, we didn't have a new album, so it was all just find the best bits, you know, the greatest hits and the fan favourites or whatever. And because we were headlining the tour, it was hour and a half set, so we got quite a lot in there.
Yeah.
It was nice, so we released an album just before the tour, and it was like all the singles we've ever done.
Yeah.
But in chronological order, which we've never done that before. It's always been, you know, the more popular ones will be the first tracks on the record or whatever. And we did it all in chronological order, 23 tracks, I think, maybe 22. And because we've had 2 singers, like Stephen started with the band, did the first few singles, then we had Tom, then Tom left, we got Stephen back in. When you hear that journey of the Inspiral Carpets through the records that we chose to release as singles, it's a fascinating trip. You know, it's like there's a lot of diversity in what we did, even just the singles we put out. You know, there's 60s garage stuff. There's, you know, dreamy pop like Move, and Saturn V's a science fiction story, and Biggest Mountains a waltz. You know, it's like there's a lot of diversity in our singles, which I really noticed when I heard that. But yeah, the journey, you know, like the different stages that you hear when you listen to the singles album or whatever it's called. Can't remember what it's called. I know it came out a couple of years ago, last year. But it's yeah, I think to answer your question, putting the set together was quite easy. It was just like biggest tunes, put Saturn 5 right at the end, you know, the last encore. Throw This Is How It Feels in a bit early, just as a bit of a curveball, and that, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was a great set, and we didn't make many changes to it. I think through the year we might have just swapped out one song towards the end. I think we'd swapped Caravan and brought something else in.
Yeah. And then Rock and Roll Live, how has that changed now performing? Do you do things differently?
Do you mean in terms of like
you
stage?
And yourself and the green rooms and you know, maybe going for sophisticated meals? If I could say
especially when you've got your son in the band, you've got to rein it down a bit, rein it in a bit. But yeah, no, it's great, and I think like I say, just when you've lost something and you've given up on it, and then suddenly it's back there in front of you at that level, it's you appreciate it more than ever. So I think we're all in a frame of mind where we want to still protect it. We're not getting stupid or drunk or anything. You know what I mean? It's it's quite a I don't know. It's still a great atmosphere. You know, it's quite giddy. Yeah. You know, I'm usually the one on the buzz that's going, "Whoa, we're doing it!" You know what I mean? It's like, but it's it's not like it was back in the day where you just have weeks that you can't remember what you did and where you've been. You know, it's a bit more of a serious business now, you know.
Let's turn our attention to 2024. Let's speak about the new weekly night that you're launching in Manchester. Let's speak about the Inspirals. Let's speak about podcasts and everything in between, because it's a year where you've obviously moved away from radio. The diary's looking, because you're a very busy man. That diary is full. But now with those sort of day-to-day shows not there, what is it you're sort of most excited about?
Just having, it's dead simple. It's having the space in my day to get up, start a job and do it all day until it's finished or until I have to go to bed. Because for the last 20 odd years, it's been a case of at a certain time, everything has to stop and I'll leave the house for 5 hours and then come back home at night, and you might get a bit done before you get drunk or whatever. But yeah, it's just having that time in my day and my week to focus on stuff that I want to be doing. And it'd be interesting. It's an interesting time to be doing this into, because, you know, I mean, what date is it now? What date is it?
We're the 11th of Jan?
Yeah.
I believe so.
So, and I've not done much yet. I've been.
Yeah, well, you got to enjoy it.
I'll tell you what's happening. I'm depressurising. That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
you know, because like our actors at college, so some days I have to get up at 7 a.m. or whatever, getting to the station 3 days a week. And I've been just getting back in bed for 2 hours when I come back.
I mean, so you have grafting though, like, you know, you deserve a little bit of that.
Yeah, totally, but it feels like I'm reacclimatising now.
Yeah.
And it has, like even today, to come and do something like this with you in the afternoon and not be worrying about I need to be in spinning fields for 2:30 or whatever. It's just really, it feels liberating already. You know, I'm not being negative towards that radio work. It's I'm privileged to have been able to do that for so many years, but yeah, it just feels. I feel liberated that I'm now going to be able to be that creative person that I've always been and give it a real good shot. There's like 4 big things that are going on. One's the Inspirals, one's the Mrs. Boon's Tea Parties, which we're expanding on that together, me and Charlie. I am going to be starting the book.
Nice.
I've actually started it in the last couple of days. I have been writing. Yeah, I've been writing a bit. But
what's that like? Because obviously
it's a bestseller, Joe.
No, I mean, like, what's it like writing down? Because often you can tell such great stories on the radio and podcasts and interviews. Now putting it down into words.
I've done it before. I think being a songwriter helps, doesn't it? You know. But then a lot of when I used to do the Storytime with Boom podcast, which was 2016, wasn't it? That most of those anecdotes are documented, or they're in Word documents anyway, with a view to slotting them into a book at some point. So a lot of it's already written, but the little bits of writing that I've done in the last couple of days have been, it comes out pretty easy, really. I think what I've been doing is I'm trying to find out the best way of physically writing it, whether I should be dictating it. We've got an iPad, I've been using the actual handwriting, the Apple Pencil.
Yeah.
You know, is that a better way for me to write? So the last few days I've been very pragmatic about trying to work out, you know, what's the best way of doing it. So, but I'll probably do it in multiple ways. I think some of it will be typing into my MacBook, some of it will be writing with the Apple Pencil, which is an amazing thing. Have you got one?
I've never got one.
They're brilliant, man. It's the most expensive
You look
pencil
so
in the
giddy
world.
about it.
Yeah, it's just...
What's this? The most expensive pencil in the world?
Well, it's 130 quid for...
Oof.
But it's a proper... It's a piece of computer equipment, isn't it? It's brilliant. Anyway, but I've only just discovered them, and I'm talking to Oscar about it the other day. I said, have you seen this? And he was like, what is it, an Apple Pencil? I said, yeah, look at it. I said, yeah, they've been around about 7 years now or something. Nobody told me about it. So, but yeah, so the book, I'm going to crack on with that. The Bickershaw movie.
Yes.
That's, you know, we're at a stage now where we're getting some potentially some great meetings lined up with the people that want to make it.
And I remember that's the thing that, you know, those projects that you're mentioning now, you can really just give a bit of your all to them, can't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
And don't forget the DJ. You got your new Friday nights. What's happening there?
Yeah, the DJs. Well, I've got it's my new South, innit? I mean, South closed summer 22, so this is my first weekly residency since then. Off the Square on Lever Street in the Northern Quarter. That starts tomorrow night. That's every Friday for the rest of my life.
Amazing. And just on Inspirals, on the road with Happy Mondays, is that March?
Yeah, March and April. So it's Stereo MCs, Inspirals, and the Happy Mondays.
Class that.
It's good. That's a proper gig, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're if you're that generation, it's great. But I know for a fact there'll be a lot of young people there watching
100%.
us for the first time. That's what we found last year. The audiences were a lot of youngsters on the front row, and all the mums and dads are at the back in the bar, getting battered.
That's amazing. And with these Inspirals, use creativity. Do you ever sit down and write for them, or is that?
We've not done yet, but we are talking
about
about starting on some new music. I think at some point. I think we've not had the discussion recently, but I'm guessing by the end of this year we'll have a new album ready to rock.
Amazing.
So,
right, I've got two things to ask you. We often look at some of the music headlines and get our panel or our guests to chat about what's caught our attention this week. And you've not been on the radio since Liam Gallagher and John Squire released Just Another Rainbow.
Yeah.
Have you heard it?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's a brilliant tune. What are your thoughts?
I love it. It's
class.
I love it because it's equal parts. Everything we love about Liam and Oasis, and everything we love about the Roses. It's Waterfall. It reminds me of Rain by the Beatles as well. When the rain comes, it reminds me of that. It very reminds me of Waterfall. But that guitar solo, what I love about that is, and I just heard it on the radio on the FM on XS Manchester. It's like when the guitar comes in, it sounds like it's a recording of a gig because everything else just drops out, doesn't it? You just get this really dry guitar solo. I find it really exciting, and it's a long record as well, isn't it?
It is that
somebody's not come in and said, "Oh, you need a 3-minute radio edit," or if they have, Liam said, "Fuck off," or whatever. It's like, but yeah, so I think it's a great record, man. I love it.
And the video's brilliant as well.
I've not seen the video
released
yet.
yesterday.
Okay.
Honestly, brilliant. The video's amazing. And the only other thing that was caught our attention is festival headliners. Now, I want to ask you about this because there's talk about the Glastonbury headlines, Glastonbury Festival announcing all their headliners very soon. When you get the call, because obviously, was it Reading 91?
90.
90,
Yeah.
1 year off.
Yeah.
Reading 90, you were Inspiral's headlining. What is it like before you can announce these things? I guess time has changed a little bit, but when you get approached to do a massive festival like that.
I think because we were in a whirlwind at that moment, at that time. Towards the end of '89, we were having records that were just almost getting in the top 40. March 1990, we had This How It Feels, which got into the top 20. So we were in that whirlwind of everything was happening. We knew we were on our way to great things. I think we'd already decided to do the GMEX gig in July of 90. I think we'd got that earmarked. So we knew we were an happening band. So we weren't that surprised to get the invitation to headline Reading. It was a Saturday night. We had headline this Saturday night, and at that time, that slot on the UK festival circuit meant you were the biggest band in the country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's who got that Saturday
yeah.
night headline slot at Reading.
Amazing.
This is before Glastonbury wasn't as big as Reading at that point. So we knew that we had something really exciting going on. I'm not saying we took it for granted, but I think we were just that busy in that world, that hurricane of colour and energy and excitement that it was, the Reading call was just another great phone call, you know what I mean?
Clint, thank you very much for coming on.
Been a pleasure, Joe.
Just search, I think it's The Real Clint Boon on Instagram, isn't it? Find Clint Boon on Facebook, X and Twitter, whatever you call it these days.
Yeah.
Make sure you go and
I
see.
call it Twitter, mate. It'll always be
It's
Twitter.
always Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not right, that. What's going on?
Makes sense.
Interesting thing that I've noticed since it became X, when you switch on your Twitter app now, have you noticed that really shady, it's like a shadow goes across?
No.
It's like, I don't know what it's, but it looks like somebody's scurrying out of the way the cameras you put it on.
Really?
You'll notice it next
I
time.
will, I'm going to log on.
It's almost like you're being watched and we're just getting out of the way.
Oh,
it's Elon.
that's
It's Elon.
creepy,
It's
that.
Elon. It's Elon.
I
Keep it
tell you
on.
what, is he watching us all?
I think so, yeah.
Everyone now watching will open their phones right now.
You're gonna see, you see, like, because it's like black and white now when it comes on, innit? But you see a little like that.
Like a
Maybe it's just
Tom.
me.
Yeah, maybe it's just
Maybe there's something wrong with my phone.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, give big a round of applause for Mr. Clint Boon, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right, we'll be back in a few moments' time. We've got a band called Pave coming in. They're incredible. Big rock and roll band. They're going to be joining us in the studio in a few moments' time. Clint, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, man. Thanks for having me.
Hello, you. Are you enjoying this podcast? Brilliant. Do us a favour, make sure you hit the subscribe button below if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening on Apple and Spotify, give us a little 5-star review and a follow. It really does mean the world to everyone who puts on this amazing pod. And we are going to be releasing weekly Will We Talk episodes for you. Welcome back to Will We Talk. Thank you very much to Clint Boon for coming in, and one of our favourite guests. I'm sure he'll be back on the pod soon whenever he's bringing out new music or a new sort of big night that he does. You know what he's like. We are joined by, and I'm excited because the couch has never looked so full. Parve has joined us. Now, I've got to say, we had a bit of an argument, me and Clint, off camera about saying your name right. Parve.
Correct.
Parve, yeah.
Lovely.
That's the one.
Smashed it straight away.
Yeah.
And I sort of love the fact that you've all squeezed on our big sofa.
We're a
It's
cozy
nice.
bunch.
It's nice.
We're all friends here.
Happy 2024.
To you.
How did you see in the new year?
I was back in Dublin, so yeah, I was with my family,
Lovely.
myself. We were all messaging each other though, being like, "This year's our year again."
Nice. I like that.
Sounding,
Every
sounding
year.
like Liverpool fans, just being like, "This year,
This year is your year.
this year, hopefully."
Well, Len, sort of give us a brief look back at Parve and how we are here today, if you wouldn't mind. Sort of the coming together of you four different. Obviously, if you're from Dublin, you're from elsewhere. How did you all get together?
I think it's pretty crazy how we've all formed over the last few years. It's been pretty wild, but we met at university,
Yep.
formed for some projects, and it was just instantly natural. We knew that we wanted to continue doing this. It wasn't really something that was ever discussed. It had to keep going. We knew we wanted it, and I think it was pretty clear from the get-go that we wanted it together
Yeah.
as well. So we've just not allowed that to
And we
stop.
met Meg further down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just so.
I was a bit of a later addition.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you see the band first of all, or was it more of like what are you up to? What do you play? Like, how did that come about?
So we had a gig together. I'm in another band, and we had a gig together on the same night at Band on the Wall.
Nice.
And these guys just had a stand-in basis for that gig, and I sort of said that I would do the next couple with them because they needed someone,
You didn't know
and
what,
then I'm still here.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
We're not.
So let's talk about the sound that you make. Obviously, to sum it up to people, was it? Have you naturally progressed into the sort of genre that you are now, or was that a process where you sort of became more comfortable telling each other that you'd like sort of a bit rock and roll, sort of in your face, nice melodies? Like, how did that sort of come about and Parve's sound be where it is now?
Yeah, that's definitely taken over time. When we started off, we were we say like indie rock, and then we've just progressively through different influences and just as growing up and developing as musicians and artists, we've just all sort of just aligned under more of a where we are now, like a heavier sound, like you're saying, like melodies and coming up with nice choruses and things like that. We've just aligned naturally, I think.
How was that for everyone? Did you just fall into it quite naturally?
I'd say we did really. Like you say, we were very light at the start, but I think over time you stop kind of creating music that you think people want to hear and that the industry wants to hear, and you start creating music that you want to hear and you want to create. And I think that's what's so fun when we write together, because we don't just stay within a heavier genre. We're always swaying between so many different genres, and that's what keeps it fun and interesting, which is important for us to continue being inspired as well.
Yeah, it's like...
You say that, obviously, you're talking about 2024 being your year. Do you sum up 2023 for us a little bit? So was there new music this year? Was there big gigs this year? How do you look back at the year that we've just sort of left behind?
I'd say last year was the year we kind of really found ourselves.
Definitely, yeah. We've released 4 songs that we're extremely proud of. We're getting great response. We're starting to build a fan base, build confidence, be more like, we kind of feel like we are who we want to be right now. And we're like, we were back in the studio just there last weekend, more songs on the way, and we're like super proud of like where we've come from, where we're going. I think that's the main thing, is like we're kind of proud of ourselves, happy with what we're doing, and the movement's just been natural, and we're just going to keep it going. Yeah. Some
of the highlights of gig-wise for you, what would you say was, when you look back and you think, oh, that was a pretty good day?
I think the fun one was when we supported the Hara, didn't we? That was at Academy. That was really fun. It was a big crowd. Good fun.
That was inspiring, that show.
Yeah, Academy 3.
What's it like when you do perform live then? Because people can go and listen to the tracks now, but as you as a live band, has that matured as well? Have you changed, like you say the music's changed?
Oh yeah. Main thing would be like our sounds developed. We play into like backing tracks now and stuff. We're kind of getting more of a fuller sound, equipment, stuff like that, like the natural like sort of things. You just want to sound better. We want to listen. We're watching the videos back. We're kind of really analyzing ourselves, and then we've been putting new songs into the set and seeing how the crowd reacts and seeing if it's good reaction or not.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So literally putting tunes out, like what have you been working on demos of this, and then seeing how the crowd react to what you sing?
Yeah, I mean, a few times before we've sort of released a song or we've really gone into recording a song, we've played it live, and if it's songs that we think are great and that we love, sometimes just don't hit live, and it's quite unexpected sometimes, but then we know, right, that's not what they want. So next time we're going to change it up, do something different. Nice. And then now we're at a point where the set that we've currently got, as we say, we're so proud of it now, and it's fresh, and we're excited to play these songs for the first time, and again see what the audience, how they react.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it's good. That's a good way of doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like sort of giving out samples at a restaurant. Do you know what I mean? It's nice. Just might dive in.
Would you like the full bottle?
Yeah. Well, the success. Do you all have your own favourite songs that you've put out there? Because obviously it'd be nice to throw forward to people watching and listening a tune that they can go and dig out now. Oh, yeah. Do you all have your favourites? Do you have one favourite leading the way?
Oh, so I'm torn. So it's like from the most recent ones, it would be Thirst for me. But then,
Thirst is my favourite.
Oh yeah, man. That one, the chorus. That was one of them moments again when we first did that chorus. It was like, we gotta record this and we gotta get it out. And then one that's kind of like slipped the radar, is a bit old, is like Need to Know. It's like an underdog. It's a secret pop. But
I love Animal. For me, playing it live. It's a few years old now. Like from our perspective, it's only a year old to everyone else, but that one still gets me live every single time. Yeah, I love that one.
Any other shouts of the other mentioned?
I think probably Till I Die for me. I think that was the one where at that Band on the Wall gig before I started playing with these guys, that one was the one that caught my attention.
Class, yourself, man.
So I've got 2 myself. So I like Wait There, and because it's got really fast drums. I love that one.
You're in your element.
And I do love Thirst as well. It's really fun live. It's really
the thing
fun.
is, you can dive into all those recommendations. Just wherever, if you're listening now or if you're just watching, get onto Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your music from. And Pave, and if you just search that, you don't need the apostrophe, do you? It just comes up.
If you have a song title as well, we'll just pop up.
Helps.
Yeah. Happy days.
Exactly.
And you'll find the Spotify link in the description below. Before we let you go, we'll plug the socials at the end, but we do ask one thing of all of our artists, and it is just to sort of like, do you know, like you do that question of what your final meal would be, but being a music podcast, we have to say you're allowed to see one final artist do one final song in one of your favourite venues, and I'm allowing you now a little bit of a moment to think, and it's pressure, but do you have your favourite song in a favourite venue you'd love to see?
Yeah.
Go for you. Start then. You set the bar however high you want it.
I'm just trying to think like a venue where it's good sound, you know. Like
It could be anywhere in the world as well. Any venue you like.
Well, see, I've got the band and the song, but I'm just trying to think of the venue. I'll say something good like the arena, but I'm standing and I'm in a great spot up front.
Nice.
And I'd like to see Cherub Rock by Smashing Pumpkins.
Class.
Yeah.
That would be pretty good. Have you seen Smashing Pumpkins?
I know, but they're going on tour
Yeah,
in July,
yeah.
so plug for them. But I'm
Yeah,
going to be
plug
there.
No description, no link in the description below for them, but we'll try and get them on. What about yourself?
I think probably Bring Me the Horizon
Nice.
again at an arena. Like Can You Feel My Heart, something like that. I'd have the whole arena empty, and I would be on my own.
That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
You can do with this question as you please.
Okay, my back garden.
You having a think? You having a moment?
So for a venue, I'd probably say like let's go artist.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Loathe live.
Nice.
Two-way mirror by Loathe.
Two-way mirror, love, right?
In some nice sort of intimate, sweaty venue, like a
little, I can see
loud
it.
and chaotic kind of. Yeah.
We're there with you, but I
Yeah.
can hear it. Have you got one?
Yeah, I got one.
Here we go.
Mine's very rogue. I'm going 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton in
Brilliant.
the Cock and Bull in Guernsey.
I mean, that is what this question is all about. That is exactly
Brilliant.
what this question is all about. Thank you very much for joining us. So to
Thank
follow
you,
you on the journey ahead, just plug away. Where can we discover like your Instagram and website, whatever you've got? This is your moment. I sit back here.
Yeah, all socials, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, they can all be found at Parve Band Official.
Yeah.
Anything else for anything else?
Check us out on Spotify.
Go
Check us
listen.
out, man. Yeah,
And that
come down to the gig.
That
Yeah.
2nd of February gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do check it out because it is honestly, it's a selection of bands that are handpicked by this feeling, and if they're handpicked by them, they're handpicked for a reason. Right, everyone, that is our first official episode done and dusted. Thank you very much for watching or listening. Thank you very much to Parve, and thank you very much to Clint Boon for being our first guest on the show. Do us a favour, make sure you leave a little subscription on the go on, tick that box there as well on YouTube, and leave us a lovely little comment. And if you've got an answer to our big question that we ask at the end of each episode, let us know. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
We'll see you next week. Bye. Bye. Everyone wave like we're in like a
Bye.
weird game show. Bye.
We want a toaster.